Good evening. Welcome to our Bobcat Family Connection event. This is our second one of the year. It's good to gather as a Bobcat family throughout the year and share important information with you and to hear from you as well. Tonight's focus is going to be registration for the school year, for next school year, 22 and 23. We're going to hear from the counseling department, and they have lots of information to share with you so that you can be an asset to your student as you together walk through what courses they might be interested in taking and what might be the best plan of action for them next year and on their long-term journey in their education. We hoped that we were able to do this in person, but again, here we are in a virtual setting. And at some point, we look forward to welcoming you back together as Bobcat Nation in person. This evening, our focus is for current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, looking forward to next year. Next Tuesday, we will be looking at holding a very similar event for incoming freshmen, the current 8th graders. If you happen to have a student in that in 8th grade looking forward to joining us next year, that will be an event that has some new information specific to that child, as well as some that you will hear this evening. So I encourage you to take a look at that. We're going to pull up our school website on your phone or another device. I encourage you possibly to do that this evening. In just a moment, you'll see that here. If you would navigate to the For Parents section across that blue ribbon, you will find Bobcat Family Connection. And that is a place where each of our events from this year are housed. So our back to school night and now tonight, the 22-23 registration for current students. This is a place that you can click on. After this evening, we will have a recording posted here. And then below that recording will be these documents. The documents that you see listed here are live right now. And so on a second device, you might pull them up as our counselors go through the details of them this evening. That might be of benefit to you. And this is, again, a place that you can reference this evening's presentation, as well as others that will come up throughout the year. With that, we are finished with the website at this moment, and I will share with you some information about a third Bobcat Family Connection event that we have coming up on February 15th. This you will hear more about at the end of our evening tonight. Our counselors will give you more details, but the main topic is executive functioning. We have a guest speaker coming in to share some important information on how to help with organization and scheduling and some of those other things that can help a student as well as a working professional. That we're excited about on the 15th of February. This evening, we have a Q&A that will take place at the end. So at some point, we will open the questions on the side. And as those questions come in, our administration and school counseling office will be sorting through. We will answer general questions out to everyone live, and there are administrators and counselors that are also going to be responding to individual questions to you as well at the end of our presentation this evening. We look forward to posting a FAQ document at the end, again on the website in that same section where you'll find the video as well as the documents this evening. Again, welcome. With that, I'm going to pass to Ms. McKinney, one of our school counselors, to get this evening started.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if you can see me right now, but if you can't, that's okay. But thank you so much for coming. I know that this is a lot to take in, so please just follow along with us. There are so many resources that we shared with your student, and we're really excited that we have these places to be able to share with your students. So hang in there with us as we walk through the course registration for next year. This is personally one of my favorite times of the year because eventually, and you'll see in the PowerPoint, we get to see each student that we have and kind of work with them with their course registrations. And it's just my favorite time to be able to sit down and see your student. And I know the other counselors really like that as well. With us tonight, you will hear from Miss Knight, and Mr. Noss is in the background. He will be answering questions that Mr. Kassouf talked about with the Q&A. So let's get started. All right, so here are the school counselors. We have Mr. Noss. Now it does go by last name. So if you are new to the school, you're not familiar with who your student's counselor is, it goes by last name. So Mr. Noss has last names A through F. We have Miss Hackett, who has all last names G through MI. We have Miss Knight, who has all last names MO through P, and all biomed. And then there's me. I am Miss McKinney, and I have all students Q through Z. All right, so we get a lot of these questions from all students in all grades. This just shows the status for each grade. So for example, we have our 9th graders right now. To get to the 10th grade, they have to have at least 6 credits. So as students may not pass a class, or they start to get worried that they're in 10th grade and they didn't pass a few classes, this just shows what the status is for the credit counts. So we just want to make sure that by the end of their senior year, they have 26 total credits. So we have 10th graders that have to have at least 6 credits. The 11th graders have to have at least 12 credits. And then to start your senior year, you have to have at least 18 credits to be considered a senior. All right, so graduation requirements. Now, we are going to have 2 different screens here. And so I just want to draw your attention to that highlighted part, because current 9th graders are going to have a little bit different requirements than the current 10th through 11th graders, okay? So we have our current 9th graders that have to take 1 full credit of health. Now, this year, they took a half of a credit, which means either next year, which we recommend, or their junior or senior year, they'll take another half of a credit, okay? So you'll see on here, English, math, science, social studies, so those core classes, you'll see it broken down. Now, when we do have sheets that we have outside of our counseling office that have this on it. So if students are, confused, or they just want to see where they stand, what they need to take, this is a really helpful tool. We also have this on our student education planning guide, which we will be talking about that soon. So you'll see the credit breakdown. We have English, you have to take 4 years of English. Math, you have to take a total of 4 math credits. Now, a lot of students will ask, well, I took 2 maths in 9th grade, right? So that means I'm done for junior year. No, it doesn't. You guys do have to take another math your senior year. So the best way that I describe it is every year that you're in high school, you must take a math. Science, you have biology. So all 9th grades is currently taking biology. As sophomores, they take IPC, which is integrated physics and chem, or chemistry. And then in 11th grade, they take earth and environmental or physics. I do want to point out that, and Miss Knight will be talking about this, the student education planning guide really gives good kind of like webs for what to take next. So if your student is confused, or if you're confused about what class goes next, you're not alone. So a lot of people do get a little confused, and that's okay. But the student education planning guide will lay this all out. Social studies, you have government as a 9th grader, 10th grade world history, and 11th grade US history. So you have that PE there. You have to take 1 full credit. So you take a half a credit as a 9th grader. So somewhere eventually in your 10th, 11th, or 12th grade year, you must take another PE. And there are plenty of options such as summer school and HCC PE. We have FOT or AP Computer Science that you have to take. A fine art credit, typically those are taken in 9th grade. And then the career pathways, which Ms. Knight will touch on. This next slide will show the same thing, but with health, half a credit. So just to reiterate, only the current 9th grade will be taking another half credit of health. So if you are a current sophomore or a current junior, you will not have to take another half credit of health. This next slide. So this is one of my favorite forms that we use because it really lays out for the student what they have taken and what they need to take. So typically when the counselors are meeting with the juniors, so current juniors, and I'll speak for myself personally, I use this form to show what they've taken and what they need to take. So I'll check off the classes that they've already taken and highlight the classes that they need to take. This is extremely helpful for the student to see what they need to sign up for. We definitely encourage to do this with your student. There is your student's transcript found on the Hack account that you can go to. It says transcript right there, that you can start filling this out with them. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out. But that we really encourage parents to work through this with their student. I know a lot of my students do this because they want to double check. And each counselor has about 400 students. So with that being said, there's one student that they have to worry about themselves. And you have either one or a couple of students that you have to look out for their graduation requirements. So all that to say, definitely double check. This is a really helpful tool to walk through. You'll see each section is broken down. You can just mark it up. We have, and I'm not sure, Miss Knight, did we give each student one of these, or do we just have these in the counseling office?
We have these located right outside the counseling office on the kiosk.
Perfect. Thank you. I do want to say there is this attachment on what Mr. Kassouf showed in the beginning, and there's also under resources and It's Learning, which I will show later in this presentation. All right, so more about graduation requirements. Service learning. This is a question we get a lot. Each year that a student is in HCPS, in an HCPS school, it does not have to be Bel Air, but each year a student is in HCPS starting in 6th grade. They get 25 hours built into the curriculum. So if you are a new student or you came from out of county, we just want to make sure that you do have completed 75 total hours. Now, a lot of students bring hours with them from out of county, but this is a huge question that I get from students as soon as they see that there's a service learning requirement for graduation. I always say definitely do more service learning than the built-in hours. There is NHS, there are college applications, there are scholarships that will ask about community service opportunities that that your student has taken advantage of. We do not keep track of their service learning hours outside of the 25 hours each year. So I always recommend for my students to start like an Excel sheet, maybe collect things from their community service place that they've done community service at in a folder, keep it organized. So service learning hours are built into the curriculum from the start of 6th grade. So let's say you are a new sophomore coming into Bel Air High School. If you started at the beginning of the year, you will have your completed graduation requirements. for service learning. Testing requirements. This is also a huge question. Ms. Knight will actually be taking you to the Student Education Planning Guide, where it will lay out for you exactly what scores your student needed for these testing requirements. Now, obviously with COVID, there are tests that have been waived, so we just want to make sure we're correctly giving you that information, and the Student Education Planning Guide is the perfect resource for that. All right, so summer school. I talk about this with my kids because sometimes they think they're too late. Sometimes they think if they failed first quarter that it's all over and that they failed the class, and it's just not true. I just want to encourage parents, if you see that your kids are getting E's for first and second quarter, there's still time to turn it around. Okay, most of our classes are year-long classes, so it's not too late for the student to bring those grades up and pass those classes. A lot of my students will get to second quarter, and if they failed again, they start to give up and they think that they're just gonna have to take summer school and that's it. And it's just not true. And so I encourage a lot of my students who have failed to have conversations with their teachers. Ask for help, reach out for help. There's tutoring opportunities. So summer school will be posted in April. A misconception that a lot of students have is that they can take multiple summer school classes. You can only take one summer school class at a time, and you must have failed the class. Now that's apart from PE, and that's separate, but you must have failed the class in order to take a summer school class. Okay, so one opportunity to take a summer school class. So if you get to the fourth quarter and your student has failed all 4 quarters, I would even say, at third quarter, I would start to consider summer school, but it's still not too late then either. There's still 2 quarters left at this point. So have your students have conversations with their teachers. That's what we really kind of hit home with that, because it's important that they're communicating, whether it's in face-to-face or through an email, which we encourage more face-to-face now that we're back in school, but it's just helpful to have those conversations.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. Hello all. This is Ms. Knight. I'm going to share my screen and show you a little interactive guide to the Student Education Planning Guide. I definitely want to encourage the conversations. We do know, especially with COVID and virtual learning, some of our students need a little extra encouragement and prompting or modeling on how to have those conversations. So it is very easy. We kept the online bookings links for school counselors because we found that was pretty effective for our students. So please encourage your student to use that to make appointments for us if they need any type of academic support. So on to the Student Education Planning Guide. So if you go to hcps.org and if you click under students, you'll see a variety of resources. For our current juniors, our soon-to-be seniors, which they're incredibly excited. I know Ms. McKinney's seeing quite a few of them bopping in our office saying, I'm ready for part-time, I'm ready for college classes, what are my options? We will have a later presentation about the student enrollment options. A new application is coming out in March. So just hold off on that just a little bit and we're going to get there. But they can think about what classes they want to take, and I'm going to show you some resources. So the Student Education Planning Guide is a live document, which is wonderful because it means central office updates it as we get more information. Some basic information, need to know, talks about the 6-year plan, the graduation requirements that Ms. McKinney referred to, the state testing assessments, and it'll go from basics, and then it'll also go by the cohort year that your student came in. So a lot of good information. Our student packets will be uploaded in here, but you guys have easy access to it via our website and through It's Learning with your students. Courses. This is something I wanted to draw your attention to. I always find it's interesting when our students are like, hey, I wouldn't have signed up for that class if I would have known what it was about. I apologize, there's a little delay. There we go. And I remind them that the Student Education Planning Guide specifically is providing them descriptions and guidance on what the course will entail and what the prerequisites are for a class. Again, it's another opportunity to model what it's going to be like when they go to college or when they're looking for jobs, things along those lines. What I recommend is that you go to Bel Air High School. The course selection guide differs school by school. So if you go to Bel Air High School, it'll populate all of them for you. And it'll give you the descriptions, or you can go to view and go to specific ones. For our business courses, I'm just going to highlight, it'll give you a breakdown in this nice kind of grid format. We have a phenomenal business department, by the way. We have accounting, we have marketing, basic business management, capstone, HCC classes. Our business program does an amazing job. So you can look at that, or if we go to something such as, let's look at mathematics. That's always a fun one for our students for the grid. Talks about the prerequisites. So to go into geometry, you need to complete Algebra 1. If we want to look at the map of what it looks like, it gets mapped out pretty nicely. This is a really nice web. Now, even before we get to the Student Education Planning Guide, I ask the students to look up from their desk because their teacher is their best resource. Our teachers are just such a good wealth of information. They're curious, they ask questions, and not only about their content, but they know about completers, they know about pathways, they know information about college. They've worked with us so closely, and they have such, I don't know, a variety of experiences. So really encourage your students to tap into their teachers. We have teachers that are working at HCC. So why wouldn't they ask them questions about that? So looking at this grid, if we currently have a student that is in geometry, for example, you'll see the next math that they'll take in 10th grade is Algebra 2. And then from there, they have the option of doing a trig pre-calc combination, statistics, or trigonometry, or AP computer science. Now there's pros and cons to various classes. And that's why I always encourage students, have a conversation with your teacher first, have a conversation with your parents to understand what your goals are, what the questions are, and then that's where the school counselor comes in. So a lot of times students want to start with us to check off the box, and we're really trying to foster this conversation to happen. So as you'll see at some point in the PowerPoint, we're holding off on students setting appointments for us right now because we're really trying to foster those conversations with teachers. So please help your students get curious. Hey, career technology education, what is that? What classes does Bel Air High School offer? And you'll see that we have this new interactive media and design class. We do have the biomed program, and then we also have a career research and development. What does that entail? Does your student want to learn about how to write a resume, how to find out what jobs they are curious about and they may be interested in? We have a variety of resources and I don't know, just great classes. So that's the course. Specialty programs, we do offer 2 at Bel Air High School. We do have the biomed program. Your student does have to start the biomed program from 9th grade. So that is, you started in 9th grade and you continue it yearly. So it is not something that they can start in 10th or 11th grade year. But the interactive media productions, this was our first year offering the first class. It's a sequence of 4 classes, and we are offering the second class next year. So this is something that is open to all of our current students. So even if they can't complete it as a completer or a pathway, it is open to all students. So if your student's interested in this, please encourage them to have a conversation with Mr. Benfield, who's the teacher for those classes, and with their school counselor. Resources, a variety of resources. And one thing I really want to draw your attention to over here is this HCPS and HCC dual credit guide. It's going to look a little small on here. I'm going to try to blow it up faster, but we have an amazing partnership, Harford County Public Schools and Harford Community College with our North Star. And North Star is where we're really trying to encourage and foster our students in having this college experience. If a student wants to do dual enrollment or dual transfer of credit, meaning they're taking a class at HCC to also get high school graduation credit, they must select a class from this spreadsheet. One of our most common classes that a lot of students take is they love taking PE at HCC to get that extra half a credit in. And as I scroll down, you'll see that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 options. Bowling and hiking is not an option, and that is a PE class that HCC offers. So referring to this, if they want to take a class at HCC to meet high school graduation requirements, they do have the opportunity to also take classes for college credit only. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But this is a great resource. So please refer to this. And we did put a link in the PowerPoint for you. I'm going to bring up the registration form. Here's what our course registration form looks like. So what we're asking each student to do is have a conversation with their teachers, have a conversation with you. Now, the order's probably going to have first is their best friend and all their peers. So that's probably the first, hey, what are you taking? What are you taking? We know that that's going to happen. I actually encourage it. However, the final decision should be, and we're trying to help our students understand, make the best decision for them. It's been often that sometimes their best friend might drop out of a class and then they left hanging in that class all by themselves. And that can make students very uncomfortable. But when they've made decisions that's best for them, and that's our role as adults in their life to guide them through that, then it's a win all around. So let's help refocus them. I understand that your friend is taking this. What are your goals? What are your goals for part-time? What are your goals for full-time? What are your goals as far as new experiences? So for English, they're each going to put just a little X right near here for English. Our registration process is a 2-step process again this year. So we're asking them to fill out the registration sheet on top of completing an app. So they're going to, if they're in English 9 right now, next year they have the option of English 10 or Honors English 10. So it's pretty basic how they do it, but they also have the option. We have journalism, we have creative writing, we have a new course for film criticism, we have yearbook, math. Remember, math is every year, so they go in sequence. Having a conversation with their math teacher will help guide them. Science, if you have a 9th grade student in biology, please highly encourage them to have a conversation with their teacher, because the track, if they take IPC, that means their next year, their junior year, they're going to take EES. And that decision often is supported, or another factor should be what math they're in. So if they're in, we often find that our students that are in Algebra 1 or Geometry, sometimes IPC's a class that provides them a better match. But the math teacher and again, the science teacher are the good people to help them with that. We have got our business classes. So everybody needs something called a completer. That is a state requirement. You get the completer via 2 years of a world language, 2 years of advanced tech, or 4 classes in a concentrated area, such as a business. We have a foods program. We've got a career research and development, the biomed. So there's various ways they can do that, and typically getting a completer is not a struggle for our students. Our teachers and us school counselors will help your student with that. Social studies, they'll pick at least one of these from the government, world, and U.S. history. And then we do have some very nice electives that some of our students like to explore. On the next page, on the back of it, you'll see the foods that I mentioned. Now for our students, Intro to Foods is a class that they can take in 10th grade, and if they like it, continue. Unfortunately, due to the small class sizes that we need to have, we can't introduce that later. So a 12th grader couldn't take the foods class. So as you'll see on the side, for some of these, they mention what the grade range is: 11th grade through 12th grade, 10th grade, etc. When you look down at the PE and health, you will see that new health 2 that Ms. McKinney referred to for our current 9th graders only. And that you can see that your student can take it in the fall and the spring, and then they just need to pick a PE to pair with it. We often encourage, this is an easy alternate. So when students come to me and they say, I don't know what I might want to take in its place, this is an easy alternate. If they put that they want to be in general PE, an easy alternate would be, if that doesn't work with my schedule, do wellness walking, weight training, or weight toning. Typically, it's the reverse. We have a lot of general PE, but sometimes wellness walking or weight toning doesn't exactly pair up for the students. We've got our fine arts selection. I will draw attention that we do have a new advanced photography class, first year offering that. We have a very energetic drama department and music. Your student will be able to show you more information about all of these departments in its learning. Our departments did a fabulous job providing PowerPoints, more information about how to contact teachers in its learning under each department. We have the world language, and then we have this other slot, and this is for our students that are interested in mentoring. Mentoring is where either 11th or 12th grader is in a core class and is assisting a teacher, providing students some direction. So quite often, a teacher may say something one way and students aren't quite grasping it, but a student may be able to repeat it in another direction or redirect a student to keep them on tasks. So a lot of our students enjoy having those leadership opportunities. We do have student aid and part-time for either work, college credit only, or dual enrollment. And I'm going to get back to that in a few minutes on another slide. If Ms. Benfield could go ahead and take us back to the PowerPoint, I'll walk that through. You'll hear there's a theme. So the theme is having conversations with your students. And that's what we're doing. Counselors are in the cafeteria during every lunch. We're also going to be available before and after school. And teachers are in classes even going over this information. All right, so we're on to our junior options. So juniors have, our 9th and 10th graders traditionally have full schedules. They actually need that structure, and they're getting a lot of their prerequisites out of the way, much similar to what your experiences may have been in college. But as juniors, we do open up the first option of doing part-time. We typically do not have many juniors do this. Most of our juniors do a full-time schedule, which is 8 classes. So for the registration sheet, they'll pick 8 classes and 2 alternates. But they also have the option of dual enrollment. So the dual enrollment is where they're taking a class at HCC. Remember that Excel spreadsheet that I showed you? One of those classes to transfer it back to their high school transcript. Student may want to do this because there may be a class that they're interested in. They may want to be challenged in a different way. But it would be 6 classes. Some of the obstacles to that could be transportation. What we would do is we would program their classes where it would be 1 full day and 1 half day. And then that leaves probably a parent picking them up and either getting them to the college class or taking the college class virtually. So if that is something that you're interested in exploring, stay tuned for in March when we have more information about the dual enrollment and the student enrollment options presentation. And master tutoring is something that students can do. So any of the teachers can explain in the core classes how they would utilize a master tutor, and counselors can help with that. For our seniors, a lot of options. I will share with you, I've never had a parent or student disappointed that they did part-time, but I have had the reverse happen. Our part-time morning classes can tend to fill up pretty quickly. So if it is a possibility that your student may do part-time, I highly recommend that you start with that option now. It is easy for us to change you over in the summer from a part-time to a full-time. It is much more challenging to go from a full-time where graduation classes are in the afternoon to a part-time schedule because some of our morning classes fill up. So we've got part-time work. So we do have students that will take their 4 classes they need for graduation, which again is going to be English, it's going to be math. Everybody's taken an English and a math their senior year, and then any other classes that they may need for graduation. Now, some of our students are going to be done. Their completer is going to be done. Their pathway is going to be done. So they may choose elective courses. And then at 10:35 every day, they can get in their car and they can go home and they can go to work and learn some other life skills as far as how to manage their time. We also have students that are doing for college credit only. College credit only means that they've met all of their graduation requirements to get their high school diploma at Bel Air High School, and they're taking classes that they're interested in at HCC. But we do not need those classes to come back to Bel Air High School. So they may be taking 2 classes with us and 2 classes at HCC. The minimum class between the combination of HCC and HCPS or Bel Air High School is 4 classes. That's the magic number that we're looking for. So that can be in any combination. That can be 1 at Bel Air High School. I have one student that comes just for the biomed class, and they take all of their other classes at HCC. They take English 101, they took it in the fall, and they'll take English 102 in the spring. They might have taken their trig class in the fall and a PE requirement. And then come the springtime now, they're taking biomed, English 102, and then 2 other elective classes. And they're doing very well and they're very excited. This is where you set the goals and your student sets the goals about what are they trying to obtain. Do they want the life experience to be able to expose themselves to different classes that we might not be able to offer at Bel Air? Do they want to learn some time management? When can I take a nap? When can I have lunch with my friends? And when do I have to buckle down and study and make sure I get my classes done? So we also have that dual enrollment, and that was that biomed scenario where the English and the math is coming back. We're going to explain this process for the dual enrollment for the part-time at any sort. So that's all falls under student enrollment options. So it's the part-time work, part-time college credit only, and part-time dual enrollment. That, I guess, presentation we're going to do in March once that application is ready and central office releases it. You'll see the link for the Student Education Planning Guide, which is that's the Excel spreadsheet that I showed you, that for dual enrollment, those classes must come from there. And then we also have our work-based learning. So for some students, we are, I think right now, the only school in Harford County, or maybe one other, that has a work-based learning program. And so Ms. Paus is the teacher for that program, along with the fire and rescue. So I really want to do a shout out to our fire and rescue, especially in light of the sad news of what happened in Baltimore City. But we do have students that receive free training through Harford County Fire Department, and they can come out with their EMT and fire rescue certifications and get jobs right away. So look at that work-based learning. All right, next slide. Seniors also have the options of being an aide. So for some of our students that are looking at 6 classes, but yet they can't fill up some of the classes. Some are really looking forward to being aides. They want to help out in the counseling office, the main office, the media center. A lot of them love being an assistant there. The aides are for non-credit, but that is a possibility if they at least have 4 classes. They need those 4 accredited classes. Master tutor, again, helping out in the core classes. And we do have a forms document that our seniors will scan, and they'll fill out their intent of interest for that. And then we'll assist them with that process. All right, so a couple things when we've completed the form. So what's different this year is they actually have a paper form. We got all of them this paper form. So hopefully that makes it a little more real for them and they're going to turn it in. So make sure they include the number of credits. So seniors may not have 8 credits. They might only do 4 credits and try to choose an alternate. Some of my seniors really just don't have any alternate options because they're must-haves for graduations. We will get them in, but it would be nice to have an alternate 1 and an alternate 2. Consult with your teachers, parents, and consider the rigor of the overall schedule. Some of our students, are strongly encouraged by each of their teachers that they are at the honors or the AP level, and that is wonderful. When you look at that and you put them all together, that may be a little too much rigor for some of the students, especially when you take into consideration if they're working or they have other out-of-school commitments. They're on various sports teams. So look at the rigor. You know your child. So if you feel they're good to go and they can take on the full load of honors and AP, we have many, many students that are very successful with that. And we have other ones that are more thoughtful and need to back off a little bit. So we were going to talk about just briefly about the pathways. So Bel Air High School has various pathways. So I talked about the completers. This full document can be found on It's Learning, and Ms. McKinney will show you where to see that. We also have hard copies outside the counseling office on a kiosk for your student to pick up. The state requires a completer, 2 years of world language, 2 years of advanced tech, or 4 classes in a CTE. Harford County Public Schools requires a pathway, and that's a concentration of 4 classes in a designated area. It could be world language. We've got students that take 4 years of world language. It could be the 4 years of biomed. We've got other students that have a passion for chorus or art. So it is not difficult to get these pathways. We will assist your student with these. Often it happens naturally, and sometimes students are a little more intentional about it, such as with the early childhood.
Miss Knight, can I just say something really quick?
Please.
Sorry. Are you muted? It's gonna echo.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. So with the pathways, I get this question a lot. I'm not sure if the other counselors do. I'm sure they do. But a lot of students think that they have to choose a pathway that they're going to pursue in college, and you do not have to do that. Colleges are not looking at their pathways. So rest assured, just pick something that they that they like. I hope that they, ask these questions and have these conversations, but yeah, they do not have to choose a pathway based on what they think they are going to study in college. Many times they just study something completely different. So I just wanted to kind of hit that real quick.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. So if you could encourage, I know some students, our emails have been blowing up. Students have been trying to set appointments. What we are highly encouraging them is to wait to meet with us, try to see us before and after school, because quite often they're just quick. We can give quick responses to address their worries and concerns immediately. But counselors are available before and after school as well as during lunches. Their teachers are with them all day. You're there with them, and then we will be meeting with them at a designated time in their English classes to collect their paper. So we promise we will have one-to-one with them. And then if need be, we can schedule an appointment after March 1st. This system works. I know it produces some anxiety, but even if we met with every student now, it's going to provide, they're going to have some anxiety, and that's part of the process. That's part of the process, and that's not a bad thing because it means they're excited and they're trying to be intentional about what they're doing. And the schedule can change. I love having those conversations where a student comes back to me and say, Miss Knight, I visited this college and this university and this needs to happen or that needs to happen, so I need to make a schedule change. I'm on cloud 9 that day, because that means that they had a conversation with their parent, they got excited, they talked to another adult at a college or a university, they're connecting those dots. And that's what we're trying to do by not fixing it for them immediately and checking all the boxes for them. But schedule changes can happen. Very easy to do. This is not set in stone. So the registration app. So this is that second part. So the first part is completing the hard copy paper form. And this is an easy thing to move around with teachers and parents to see. And then the student goes on the registration app, and they're all familiar with this because they all used it last year. So it should be actually a little bit easier for them. They're going to log in like they do their school computer, their username and their password, and they're going to put the form, they're going to select the classes just like they see it on their registration sheet. And if you can go to the next slide, that'll show you a little screenshot of what that looks like. So you'll see the student's name at the top right, which I've blacked that out, but you'll see they can add a course or they can add the alternate. And as they select the appropriate class, it'll move over to the left-hand side. And then for our current 10th and 11th graders, they'll need to pick a pathway. Our current 9th graders do not need to pick a pathway, but the system is going to ask them for a pathway. It is not set in stone. It is currently what they're thinking and where they're at, and it is easy to change. We have seniors change their pathway and completer their senior year. It's fine. On the next slide, you'll be able to see how some of them do move over. And you'll actually be able to see one of those HCC classes. So if you see at the bottom, you'll see that HCC fitness. So for our students that already know what class they want to take, they're going to indicate that XX, I want to do XX dual enrollment, which is XX0300. And then they're also going to select which of the PE classes they want. That's giving us some early information about what classes they want in their schedule. Because remember, that HCC PE class is going to come back, that grade from HCC, back to Bel Air High School. And we'll go into that in much more detail in March when we have that new application, because that's where that's all going to be spelled out. So, but this is going to give us some preliminary information.
All right, awesome. Great. So I just wanted to come on and reiterate the steps for this course selection this year. You know, simply laid out, have your student have those conversations with you and their teachers. Number 2, fill out your course selection sheet. So this is what we're encouraging the students to do. Fill out the course selection sheet. And Miss Knight, you know, went over these things. But fill it out. I would recommend pencil because I have a lot of students who, you know, want to make changes and it's all messy. We have a lot of copies for them if they do kind of mess up, and that's okay. But fill it out with pencil, and then they're going to go into the app. I would highly recommend as a parent or guardian to do that with them, just to make sure their classes are put in correctly, that their alternates are in there correctly. And then the Media Center, we will be meeting with your student in the Media Center. Like I was saying, it's my favorite time of year. We're going to be meeting with them individually. And so we just want them to be prepared. We want them to, you know, not come with an empty sheet or empty classes in the app. If they, you know, fill out what they can, and if they have a question, that's fine. But to bring nothing would really back up a lot of their questions. And so we really want to work with them, especially if they have already worked through with you and their teachers. So you'll see there the dates that we're meeting with them in the Media Center. So our current 9th graders will be meeting with them on February 7th and 8th. Our current 10th graders, we're meeting with them in the Media Center on the 9th and 10th. And then our current 11th graders, we're meeting with them on February 11th and 14th. Ms. Benfield, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so as Ms. Knight said, I'm going to show you its learning real quick. As most of you know, as a parent, you do not have access to its learning, but what a great way to get involved with your students' learning and what they see on their It's Learning, just by going to their It's Learning with them. I'm going to pop on here. All right. Okay. Miss Knight, am I good? Can you see that? Okay, awesome. So your students, it's learning will look a little bit like this. It's a little different because this is mine. But their tile will say BAHS, their grade, and then counseling. And when they go to, I'm going to go to student view so you can see what it looks like from their perspective. They're going to go under resources. So I went to the tile and I went to resources. You'll see to book an appointment right there. Again, we are really encouraging the students to wait and have those conversations before just making an appointment right away. We have registration information right here. Okay, so this folder has the department and course descriptions that Ms. Knight was talking about earlier. A lot of these have really great detail, a lot of really awesome information within these folders. A lot of our teachers took a lot of time to really create some awesome, just kind of marketing their department and seeing what their department brings to the school and for your student. So I'm going to go back here. And then in this folder, there are forms, resources, and here's the app link. So if any of your if your student is, needing to see the pathways chart, it's right under here. Their registration sheets are here, and those graduation requirements. I actually got 2 emails asking if they could have a copy of this, and I was like, go to your It's Learning, and I told them where to find that. But and then the link for the registration app is here. And then in each tile, we do have their presentations that we showed them last week. And so it was a lot like this presentation, but they have each of them in their tiles will have all of these resources, which is really great. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to unshare. Okay. Miss Benfield, if you could put the PowerPoint back on there, that would be awesome. Thank you. This is just a reiteration of when we will be meeting with what grades in the Media Center, and also another link to the course registration app. So as you can see, we really have kind of plastered all resources everywhere. You have it on the Bel Air High School website. You have it on every student It's Learning. You have the presentations here now. So definitely there's a lot of information and it is everywhere. So if your student is confused, now you know where to tell them to go. This is just the counseling team. So thank you so much for coming. I do want to say, just hang on for a few more minutes. We will have Ms. Knight just talking about the presentation that we have coming up in February. So if you could hang tight, and thank you so much for coming.
I think we're going to answer any questions that there may be.
At this point, we've been able to keep up with the Q&A and answer them personally. The one that we did skip over, if we could talk quickly about for junior parents leading into senior year, we got a question about summer classes at HCC. Is that an option this summer between junior and senior year?
Absolutely. That's a good question, and absolutely it is. And I have had some students actually even between their 10th and their 11th grade year opt for classes at HCC just to provide, explore new interests. It doesn't necessarily mean that class is going to transfer back to school. It may or may not need to us, but that would definitely be something that we can be planful for. So yes, very exciting. I will highlight one thing, and we're going to go over this more in the March, but Harford County Public Schools picks up 1/3 of the cost of the HCC class for up to 4 classes. So that's a wonderful incentive, but that's only during the school year. So if you take classes over the summer, it's not doesn't help cover the cost then, but it does during the school year. And that begins in whatever year your student decides to take classes.
We have a question from a parent. A student is currently at Swan Creek, but will be returning back to BHS for next year. How should they go about doing the registration process?
Wonderful, welcome. That's great, because I did advertise to get it out to Swan Creek that we were holding this. So wonderful to hear you're here with us. It's going to be fine. So the registration sheets, you will have them when, and your student can be part of this process. Look at it, pick the classes now, but the registration actually won't happen until you enroll your student in Bel Air High School at the end of the year. But don't worry about it. We've got plenty of classes, and that's the natural time that we do that. We start the process this early so that we actually redo the master schedule every year. So this is really providing us interest of where our students want to go.
One last question about health and PE. And the discrepancies between 9th grade requirement and 10th and 11th grade requirement since the state changed those. If we could run through that one more time.
Absolutely. So this is a new requirement that the state placed. So this is a very recent development. Harford County Public Schools is still finishing the curriculum for Health 2. So we go by cohorts. So there may be, and this was a big question I had, that we have is the cohort is the year your student entered 9th grade. So if this is their first year as a 9th grader, they are the only ones, and then moving backwards are 8th graders, etc. They will be required to take this new Health 2. Anybody that was a 9th grader last year or prior does not. So I currently have some students that were 9th graders last year, but because of not earning enough credits, they are still have the designation as a 9th grader, but their cohort year is actually in this current 10th grade. They do not take the Health 2. So Health 2 is only for current 9th graders. We are encouraging them to consider pairing that up with PE for next year. But we realize that some students might want to double up on math, take a world language, take some other classes, and they may not fit it in their schedule. So it will be a class that they will have to take in their 11th and 12th grade year. PE is offered at HCC and over the summer. I currently do not have any information about Health 2 being offered over the summer or at HCC.
That seems to be it in our Q&A. Just would encourage all parents. We've had some student-specific questions about math choices and science choices, and just reminding them that they're the best bet for advice is to go directly to that your child's teacher currently. So if it's a math question, reach out to their math teacher. They'll be able to walk you through the different options and have your student in mind when they're answering those questions. So we've been able to provide some really good info to people in the Q&A, but your child's current teachers are going to be the best bet for the most personalized advice when making those decisions, and teachers are ready and willing to answer those questions going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Redman. We do appreciate you being with us this evening. We know this took up an hour of your time, and your time is precious. So thank you very much. We're here for you, even if it's at a virtual, but you can call us on the phone and email us. And I do want to do a shout out to 2 upcoming events. So if you have a current 8th grader, we are hosting February 1st, next Tuesday, another parent event similar to this. Information's going to be somewhat similar, but maybe a little bit different. And then on the 15th, we're offering a parent event to target executive functioning. So we have so many students that are struggling with organization, how to do a self-assessment, how to develop plans, how to study efficiently and effectively. And so as we were talking as a team, we said, well, why don't we call in a professional in the community that is working with students and parents in a different setting. So we reached out to a wonderful colleague. Her name is Amy Bland. She's a certified speech language pathologist and owns her own practice, Phoenix Speech Therapy. And she agreed to do a presentation for our parents and hopefully also provide us some helpful strategies and techniques that we can share with our students also. So please consider coming to that event on the 15th. I think that there's something for everybody to gain from being more organized, learning to focus, how to set goals, and how to just even do a self-assessment and check-in. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really honored that you spent your part of your evening with us, and stay safe.